have embraced a change, a 21st century approach to transaction in property and registration of titles and the consent of the governor. I wrote a speech for the role they asked me to come and play, to open the interactive session, but they put me last in the program. So apparently to trap me here until the end of the program. Somebody played a trick on me, so fine. I will retaliate eventually. I've enjoyed myself, and I've had a lot of people here clearly. One thing is to have an interest, another thing is to protect that interest. And in protecting the interest, you raise issues. I'm happy that you are involved. I'm happy that you are responding, that we're trying to serve you. I'm happy at the turnout that we have here today, and your patience since morning. We thank you very, very much. But looking at what is the statutory consent, it for you principally, anybody sees it as the source of revenue for government, they're making a great deal of mistake. Asset is an inheritable instrument that is greater in real estate for investment into future generations and generations and upon generations all over the world. There have been no Kennedys. There have been no Rockefellers. There will be no need for a crown land in England if those assets, real estate, is not protected. It's not protected and consented to by a constituted authority. A gold asset can melt, can evaporate, can be gone completely, forever, and it lost value, zero. A crude oil asset can be gone, but a real estate is only below the human capacity, human resource. And you cannot develop that human resource without an asset base that is transferable from one generation to the other, from one hand to the other. That is make it the real estate. That is the meaning. The instrument that becomes money for you. It is only here we take for granted. Tell me, go back to history or anthropological review of money and wars. What are the causes? If not for gaining of boundaries. And if you are going to gain boundaries, what are you gaining? Real estate. What is happening between the Israelis and Palestinians? They are not on ideological wavelengths. I mean, one, they have mosque. The Christians, they have their churches. They face different directions. They don't even go into conflicts. Isn't it? Their problem, real estate. is the most valuable instrument, possession of humanity, that you have to protect. And only to perfect it and protect it is from a governor's consent. Then, what you had in the past, you have nothing. And when the study was conducted, that realizing that we may have nothing, including my good self, if this system is not changed, we did. And changes are working for you today. We mean 30 days, we mean it seriously. And it will work for us in so many ways. I like what Chief Odeyemi, as an investor and as one of the economic developers of this country, reminded you. Your balance sheet is not comparable as a banker or as a real estate owner to any other balance sheet where you have your asset that you say is a fixed asset on which the valuation is zero, or the instrument that backs that valuation is faulty. If I am the auditor, given an audited opinion on that balance sheet at a specific date, without verification and authentication of validity of that instrument, I rate you zero. Your market value is zero. And if you're now trying to transfer the business from one end to the other, your assets in consolidation, in partnership, in transferring of shares and value becomes nothing. And that is why you must take it seriously. Now, we have the bankers who have done the old equity assignment, and I want to thank Wale Babalake, who defined again for them, with Attorney General defining that you have nothing in security unless that instrument is perverted. Equally, we will work with the chief executive of the banks, and I will once again interact with them, wanting them to regularize all those security documents, because we will force the CBN to make, as part of our audit questionnaires and auditable items, on the balance sheet of each of the banks. So if you carry imperfect mortgage, then you make 100% provision for it. It should be part of the audit questionnaire and the validity test of CBN going from one bank to the other. We can promise you that we set one or two desks dedicated to the bankers, so that the bankers can have an accelerated transaction completion. It's quite interesting that somebody came up with a swampy land or refuse reclaimed land, and let's say, don't bring that. Am I going away? You see, in that area, you have to, you know what you are buying. Hey, buyer beware. You should go ahead. You should go ahead, check where, and make sure you deduct the value from that land that you are buying. That's it. Reduce the value from the, from the area. You don't bring it to me, oh, sorry, Governor, I bought a swampy land, therefore I must be, And the cost of my foundation is going to be high. Your cost of foundation, that you can put bamboo shoots to be your foundation if the planning department will allow you to do so. But we are talking of, this is your area, this is the value of the area, and it's below the market. When you go for that valuation, it's always below the market. That is what we have done. We are talking of 15% from what it used to be 35–40% before. You come down to 15%, you are still complaining. And you want that fast track. You want it done within less than 30 days if it is possible. You want a system that is technology driven. You want an efficient employee that is well paid. You want a drainage system and drinkable water at the same time. You want good schools for the children. You want to protect the value of that land and get it appreciated by having good drainage system. And you don't want to pay. Forget it. If we make it zero, Nigerian, they like Ifa, Awufu, free. You make it zero, somebody will not come up anyway. From 35, you should be carrying placard and congratulating us to 15%. From a corruption-ridden, infected system to an open and highly transparent system. General valuation, you can take your calculation. Now you can take your calculator, simple calculator, and get your value and say, oh, I'm buying Yaba, and here is my value, or Surulere. You can do your calculation and deduct it during. Why not do your negotiation when you are buying the land? You must consider what you are paying. And somebody comes and deduct it from the value. And somebody complained that the second, if the last owner didn't pay consent, why should I? Why don't you verify and make sure I pay? If they didn't pay, then you deduct it from the amount you are paying. You are not buying from Aladdin magician. You are buying from a real owner. That real owner, so have you paid your consent fee before? No, deduct it. Those are the questionnaires that a real transaction person will look into that part. Then the other generational thing, that is from father to son. The grandfather to great-grandfather history of the transaction can be subject to arbitration in the lands department. But the second generation to the current generation, that one is traceable, is deductible, is of a great value. Let's go back to 15% again. In the concept of all things, it is only the tax evaders, in the true sense of it, that will go against this even minimum 15%. Particularly those real estate valuers and others who are dealing with the transaction today, including Wale Babalake and the like, real estate magnates or you know, the leaders, are they filing their tax to federal government? If they are filing their taxes correctly, the 15% is the cost of doing the transaction, is therefore tax deductible. Put your money where your mouth is. But something Fox and Co., I don't want to mention an example, and all that, you know, maybe is, if they, maybe they are not disclosing the full length of their transaction. There's no full aggregate of transaction disclosure. But if you have to pay 45% of your gross earning before taxes to federal government, and you are doing that volume of transaction here, to give 15% of it to your environment, to the school of the poor, to those who are even coordinating the transaction, to the drainage system, to the environmental sanitation, for water, and for traffic management, and the road that you want to drive through. Everybody wants an highway, but nobody wants to allow it to pass through their lands. Where are we going to get the money from? And now that Abuja is not even disclosing all the money, all the proceeds of the oil. I've gone to court so they are almost get tired. You know, you want good roads, and we want a perfect real estate. And remember, the new pension fund is coming for huge realtor transactions. The real estate, the realtor business and the mortgage business is so chain linked that it is going to blossom and big. I feel ashamed when they're talking of South Africa. Look at the population. Look at the volume of real estate. Look at the population of England. Look at the volume of their real estate. If you follow the economic trend in the world, how is England sustaining itself now? A lot of loss of manufacturing jobs, a lot of banking services sector that has moved from London to India. Without a vibrant real estate economy, UK would have been belly up. Tourism and real estate, that's the value they grab on. So if you don't appreciate it now and get into the activities and the perfection of it, where are we going to put the pension fund? That is what you must pay attention to. Here, all of you, in this business, a great deal of opportunity and economic prosperity is arrived for you. What you must be concerned about is transparency of this transaction. And that is what we are presenting before you here today. And if there are questionnaires, if those questions are inadequate, if the incomplete documentation submitted by applicant, failure to pay statutory fee, and so on and so forth, if you find fault in their ministries, tell us. We are ready to change. We are ready to help you and work with you. We are ready to have those turnaround faster than is expected. We have young, vibrant people, thinkers and doers who are working with the system day in, day out. Dedicated employees. The civil service of yesterday that you know is no more the civil service of today. We left it behind in 1999. We left that civil service behind since May of 1999. It won't come back. It won't come back. And going forward, even 6 years, we are bringing it to the level of a 21st century that's comparable to any other part of the world. If we say we want our instrument to be negotiable worldwide, if we want to create wealth through the best asset after human resources, is real estate. And if you want to protect it, the time is now. The opportunity is here. We will look at means of tinkering with it along the line. We are not saying we have a perfect system yet, but we are going for perfection. There's no doubt about that. We are determined that it will be perfect. Tracking of forms, obtaining of forms, questions answered through email system. You yourself go and sharpen your email, go and sharpen your technological understanding. Some of the questions here can be answered through an email. We should not develop the phobia for electronics and the computer. They are so friendly and they make our times very, very, very efficient and effective. We are determined to continue to serve you. That is why you put us in the office. We are determined to continue to consult you. That is why you elected us. We are determined to give the best to our state. That is why we seek the office. And we are committed to the interests of Lagos State. May God continue to help you and help us. Thank you very much.